Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I bake sourdough bread over a campfire. Now this is something that you can do while camping, or you can just do in your backyard if you want to have fun, or maybe your power's out and you want to bake some bread. Regardless of your reason, it's all the same and it is actually very easy to do. It pretty much just comes down to your setup. Now the easiest way that I do this is in a Dutch oven, and it's not like your regular Dutch oven that you would use in your kitchen. I have a Campfire Dutch oven and I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty close to the same thing. It just has a different lid. Now this lid is lipped, if you can see that, and that is because it needs to be able to hold coals on the top. We're actually recreating your house oven over the fire, and that will be all in the oven. So we need to make sure that we can put the heat on top as well as around and a little bit underneath the oven as well. So one of the most important parts of this is obviously going to be your fire. I've had this fire going now for about 2 hours, and what I'm really trying to do is get a bunch of coals. So you don't want a fresh fire like this with a bunch of fresh, good wood in there. What you want is a well-established fire that's been burning for several hours and that has a very good coal base. I probably could actually start baking on this if I moved the wood aside, but I want to make sure that I have enough coals that will last, just in case I need to put the Dutch oven back on or something. But really, I'm going to wait probably 1 more hour for this to burn down, just a bit more, so I have a little bit of extra coal to work with. I wanted to talk about the firewood really quick. I'm using a hardwood ash. It's been drying for several years now, so it's extremely seasoned and it burns at a pretty steady pace. This might not be reasonable if you're going camping and you're planning on picking wood up on the side of the road or something. You might end up getting something a little bit more green, and in that case you're going to want to start your fire probably even earlier than what I'm doing. And that is really just to make sure that you get enough coals. I do like to cook with a little bit of flame around the Dutch oven, but really it's the coals that are going to bake your bread. So I've probably used about 5 pieces so far. 2 have completely burned away, and I'm sure that one of those pieces in there are going to burn away as well within the next hour. So I think I'll have a pretty good base of coals, but I will just say for a time frame, if you're new to sourdough, this might not make sense to you, but if you're not, my second rest of my sourdough is when I started this fire. So it will probably have been burning for 3 hours before I actually can put bread on it where I'm like, this is going to cook really well and really evenly. Again, I could have rushed it within 2 hours and put the bread on, but I might not have gotten an even bake, and I probably would have had to use more flames. And if I can avoid using a bunch of flame, that's ideal, because then your bread will just cook so much better and so much more evenly. And here is the Dutch oven. You can just probably, buy this online or something, but it is a little bit bigger. I got a bigger one because I wanted to be able to use it for more things than just bread. But I love this size because I can put a huge loaf in, do this one time, and it lasts for a couple of days. Okay, so it's been a little bit over an hour. Sorry, there was a really scary spider on my camera and it took me a minute to get it off. But we're back, and that middle piece burned out, so I've got these 2 pieces left and so much good coal in there. Those embers are perfect. That is exactly what we need. So we're going to set this up now. Okay, so just like in the house, if you were cooking your bread in an oven, I would recommend preheating your Dutch oven. Now I normally inside would preheat my Dutch oven for probably half an hour, but these coals are significantly hotter than what you would probably set your oven at. And so I just want to show you, I'm pulling apart those pieces of wood and I'm getting a pretty thin layer of coals here. And you can almost just see the base of the fire pit where there's, I'm going to do as little coal as I can, and I'm actually just pushing them to the outside. And the reasoning is that if it's too hot on the bottom, it will just char your bread. The base of your bread will be charred. So I'm gonna put this right in here and let that preheat. This preheating step is a step I would never skip, and that is because if you were to just put your dough in the cold Dutch oven, it is going to kind of start to flatten out. It won't hold its shape. You want to put it in with a hot Dutch oven so that when you've got your nice ball with your pretty design on it, it pretty much starts baking instantly, and then that shape is held up. It will instantly start forming a crust, and that crust will hold the shape. So while this is preheating, I'm gonna go get my dough and I'm gonna shape it. I'm gonna put my design on, basically just get it ready. Probably by the time I'm done doing that, this will be ready for baking. So I'm actually going to use 2 sheets of parchment paper, and that is just a little bit more protection for the bottom of your dough, because again, it is so hot in there. It's not like your oven, so you have to either really make sure that you are pretty sure that you're not going to burn it based on the amount of coals you have, or you can also do like a little extra protection like I'm going to do. So as soon as I'm done with my design, I really need to hustle back over and just get this in. Again, if I wait too long, especially with the heat of summer, it'll start flattening out a little bit, and I don't want that. I want to try to keep it as nice and puffy as I can. And I don't really care too much about the design, honestly, because it all tastes the same. And of course, you need to make sure that you have something to pick your lid up with that won't burn you. And now you really need to build up your sides. So I'm going to make sure that I push all the coals I can to the outside of the Dutch oven. And I've actually got a lot over here, so I'm going to take from this side and I'm going to place these right on top of here, and that is how I can get a 360 heat source onto this oven. All the extra coals that I couldn't bunch up to touch the Dutch oven will go on top. Got a lot over there. Okay, so I'm going to put that back. Just bunch it up as much as I can. This will help cook it evenly. So I've really got a lot of good coals in there, and I'm sure that this is going to bake up pretty quick. I would expect this to be pretty much done in 40 minutes. It does start cooling off now that we've separated the coals, but there's still a lot of red hot coals just still lingering around that could probably start a flame if they really tried, if they got a good breeze. But I'm just going to kind of watch this. I might turn it a little bit because I do notice that on one side I have more coals than the other. And instead of just shifting everything around, I'm just going to probably turn the oven. As well as it might be a good idea to do that regardless, because maybe you don't realize there's a hotter point in the fire. And so if you rotate it, then you'll be sure to get a good even bake on all sides of the bread. I actually am curious on the temps. Oh, really hot. So you see why. Now we're at the lid here. The lid. Holy cow. Getting blasted with smoke. This is the side that doesn't have as much. Wow. So this is why it doesn't take as long to bake. And I'm proving my point on how hot it is. Wow. It's only been a few minutes, but I'm still going to start rotating it because I just know this one side is way hotter. Oh, 2 hands. I wanted to show you that I knew that if the breeze hit this just right, a flame would come back, and it sure did. So that's okay. Again, I'm just going to take note that that side is probably the hottest side, and I'll rotate this a little bit sooner again. So for checking on the inside, it's totally fine to open this up briefly. You just got to make sure that you don't drop it and smack with smoke. You don't want to drop this or tilt it the wrong way. Here comes the smoke again. Because you don't want ash on your bread. Ooh, so I gotta be real careful here. Okay, it's baking up. Good. That's what it looks like after about 10 minutes. Just have to be so careful, because who wants ash all over their sourdough? Ooh, it's probably so close to being done. This is what we have so far. I'm probably going to give this a couple more minutes is all. It is looking very good. So it is so close at this point that I'm actually going to pull this off. Ooh. And my kids want some more, so I'm probably going to make this a fire again. So this has been resting for a few minutes. I'm going to take the lid off. So this is technically still baking, even though it's not over the fire anymore. The oven is still very, very hot. It's actually so hot that it's making the parchment paper pretty much break off. There is a high heat parchment paper that you can purchase. I just couldn't find anything available around me. So I'm going to pull this out with my towel and put it to a surface where it can cool and not continue to bake or burn. So I'm very curious to what the bottom of this will look like, because I was really trying to avoid it being like black and crispy on the bottom. Okay, pretty good. Crispy in a little spot, but that's about it. It baked pretty darn nice. I'm gonna move this to a cold spot. So I moved it to our outdoor kitchen where there's plenty of shade. It will need to set for probably an hour, because even though it is not overheat, it's still baking. That's like the funny thing of bread, is when it's cooling, it's actually still kind of finalizing its bake. So I'm just going to leave this here to sit and set for a while. while it finishes doing its thing, and then we'll cut it open and see how the inside looks. So I started to cut this open and it wasn't totally done. So I'm actually putting it back on just for a little bit, and it's kind of like a lowered heat because it's like almost there. I guess I'm just being picky. But there's really no problem putting it right back on and cooking it a little bit longer. Ooh. That looks so good. Every time you cut sourdough bread, it's like an arm workout. Well, I didn't wait a total hour for it to cool, so it's still kind of hot, but it looks really good. Came out great. A lot of the success of sourdough is the starter and making sure it's really well fed and taken care of. And I have been feeding mine like pretty much every day for 3 or 4 days now, just for this bread. And it's come out really nice. Fortunately, the crust didn't like burn, and it's like, I think it's perfect crust. Well, thank you so much for watching and learning about sourdough. I guess I should bring this inside because the flies are attacking it. I'll see you in the next video.